time for some more Shovel Knight. Gonna be going back through the King Knight's quest again.
King of Cards.
I refuse to play this guy. Noah's gonna be doing all the work for the rest of this character.
Hello.
I can't do it. Oh boy.
It's alright. I got this.
Besides, I have some things I want to talk about today anyway.
First of all, we are gonna start this strong first, cause this is a boss level.
Sorry everybody, I'm currently chugging down what was left of a half gallon of chocolate milk. Now then, on that note, let's talk about Zelda.
Alright, sure.
Let me scoot a little bit closer. So, to those of you who know me even remotely, which, you know, any of the viewers, you may not know this yet, because I have yet to do anything involving it on stream. However, Legend of Zelda is by far one of my favorite games of all time. I love the series. Bye, bro.
I thought I had the frog.
I love the series, like, to death. Oh my god. I have played... What games have I not played in Zelda? Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Those are among the only ones I haven't played. I know there's at least one or two more. I can't quite think of what they are off the top of my head. I know they exist, however. Whee! However, today... Oh.
My crown.
Curses! That fish had drawn near! I waited for hours. You scurried away with that gilded get-up.
Gilded indeed, workman! Have you no respect for your betters? You've found royalty! Ow.
I respect only one thing, and that's wealth. But you appear to be wearing most of yours.
Thank you! The trick with gold polish, you see, is small clockwise circles with a soft brush.
I'll bear that in mind as I toss it in the vault, and you overboard with the other worthless trash.
My lord. What a heathen. Now then, as I was saying, E3 recently happened. Actually, I believe it's still happening. I believe they have 1 or 2 more days of E3 before it's officially over. It has... Today, however, was the Zelda... Or, not Zelda, sorry. Nintendo edition,
Nintendo
so to
Direct.
speak. Yes, the Nintendo Direct for E3. So basically, it's Nintendo's segment in E3. The bit that they paid to have access to, more or less. Now, they announced a number of things, several of which I personally don't particularly care for. However, they announced... Or, I mean, you know, this was already known, I just had forgotten. In 3 days, Age of Calamity will be released. Or not released. It will be, the DLC will be released. My apologies. I'm focusing on game stuff and also that. So, in about a month, give or take a few days.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, fuck you too, young whippersnapper. So where was I? Oh yeah, in about a month, the Switch HD re-release for Skyward Sword comes out. I am ecstatic about that. A lot of people hate on the game. I get it. It's got shitty controls. But it's a good game. It is. There are some aspects of it that could be better. But all in all considered, it's a great game. It's got amazing story. And I think it's got some of the best atmosphere and world building of many of the games. Sorry, getting hiccups here. Oh, that's cool. That's weird. That said, what I'm really excited for is the game that comes out next year. Now, we knew it was in development, but we haven't heard of it we've got next to no news about it in about a year and a half. The game's basically been non-existent. But Breath of the Wild 2 will be released in within the next year, give or take. There's obviously the possibility that it will be more like 13 or 14 months. All we know right now is that it's supposed to be in 2022. So next year. And I am beyond ecstatic about this. I have been waiting for this game. Breath of the Wild was one of my favorite games of all time. It is an incredible game. There are some issues with it. There's some issues with every game, though. I'm not going to get into this right now, because I plan on playing Breath of the Wild on stream at some point, and I'm sure I'll talk about the things that I like and dislike about the game then. So it doesn't matter right now. However, more exciting news that I am over the moon about. Oh my god, I have not been this excited in years. Metroid. Yes.
Really?
Yes. So, most people don't know this about me, because most people I don't actually talk to about Metroid, because Metroid is a very niche community. It's had a very rough history. So, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. Have I talked to you about the history of Metroid, Noah?
I think you said something like it's only popular in America or something?
It's kind of correct, yes. Well, let's talk about it again, since it's a topic that that I love talking about.
Yeah.
Metroid Classic released for the NES, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it released, the NES was an old console already. And to make it even worse, very shortly after, the Super Nintendo, the SNES, was released in Japan. And so many of the people who would play the game weren't interested, because there was newer, higher quality, more capable games on the market. And so the games were failing. For Metroid, the classic one, tanked. The only reason it didn't completely fail was because of America. And there could be, a couple other, like, one or two smaller countries that didn't necessarily, like, where it didn't necessarily tank, but it didn't do as well as the US, to my knowledge. Keep in mind, it's been a long time since I've read up on this, and, it's possible that the source I had wasn't even entirely accurate. What I can tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that Metroid is considered by Nintendo and by, their developers as, and even by some of the fans, it's considered as, almost a cursed game series. It has always been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So after Metroid tanked but succeeded in the US, they released Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. Now, the Game Boy, an awesome console that, an awesome handheld system that I would never, ever want to, bag on, I love the Game Boy. However, it wasn't the most popular system, and it's very, very limited, especially when compared to the NES or the SNES. They released Metroid 2, and at this point, the SNES was already out in the US, and the Game Boy wasn't popular enough to save it. And so Metroid 2 tanked. Even in the US, it tanked. And let's see. I don't remember exactly how long it was after that, but eventually they released Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Fitting, right? Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. The game, I don't remember how it performed in Japan or any other country, but once again, much like classic Metroid, to my understanding, it tanked in Japan, and it blew up in the US. Americans obsessed over the fucking game. Can't say I blame them. It's a great game. I don't know if you've ever played Super Metroid.
I haven't.
Fantastic game. You should totally play it. It's on the Switch.
Oh, cool.
Along with classic Metroid, but you don't have to play that one because the controls are very difficult to learn and get used to for the classic Metroid because there's a lot of abilities that you don't have access to just because of the limitation of the NES. Now, Super Metroid, once again, to my knowledge, it tanked in Japan, and the US saved it. And the US, because of that, it's basically the only reason that the game even had a sequel to begin with. The US is responsible for the existence of Metroid at this point. Now, at this point, Nintendo's over it. Nintendo has tried and tried with Metroid, and it has failed and failed and failed, only succeeding in the US every time, and they're tired of it. Can't say I blame them. Makes sense. However, at this time, Retro Studios, who's known for Donkey Kong Country, is also failing. I'm getting a text. Who's texting me?
A person.
My buddy, who is agreeing with my assumption that Metroid Prime 4 will not come out until 2023. So, did you just do this level?
I got the secret exit.
Oh, okay. So, Where was I?
Metroid.
Oh yeah. So at this point in time, Retro Studios, who's most known for Donkey Kong Country, was tanking as well. Like Metroid had been failing miserably. Retro Studios was on the brink of bankruptcy, to my understanding. And they had worked with Nintendo. Like, I believe they were a subsidiary of Nintendo or something like that. One way or another, they were connected to Nintendo. And Nintendo was over them, too. They were like, you're failing, you're going out of business, basically. We don't want to spend money to fund you still while you're basically just losing us money at this point. So they figured, well, screw it. One last ditch situation. We'll give Metroid one last chance, because Metroid's dying too.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll give them to Retro. We'll give it to Retro. Two sinking ships. If they both fail, they both fail, and we're okay with that. And if they don't, or there's the opportunity that we'll get something amazing. And we got something amazing. And that was Metroid Prime.
Ooh.
Retro Studios, the company that was about to go under and practically owes the fact that it's still even in business to the Metroid series, made Metroid Prime. Like, they would have gone under if it weren't for Metroid Prime, I believe. Obviously I'm not some businessman. I don't know these things. But this is what I've read. Now, Prime... and because it's a US-based company, Retro Studios is US-based, because of that, we got several, snapshot shots and, little teasers for Prime because it's in the US. And the US is its main fan base anyway. So we got tons of teasers for the game. And, Retro is doing something awesome with it. And fans were excited. So Nintendo took the opportunity to make another game separately from Retro. They made Metroid Fusion, and they wanted it to release at not the exact same time, but at the same time relatively as Prime. Now, originally, the intent was that they were going to release Metroid Dread. Have you ever heard of that, Noah?
No.
Okay. Metroid Dread was a game that they talked about since Super Metroid, I believe. It was... Was it Super Metroid? Rumor of it, talk of it, has been around for 15 years. Metroid Dread has been in the works for 15 years at this point.
Wow.
A decade and a half. Longer than you've been alive.
Wow.
Was that... No, it has to be Prime 2. Hang on, one sec. I need to check a date real quick. When did Metroid Prime release? I want to say 2009, but I could be wrong. Fucking hell. Phone, why are you being a piece of shit? 2002. Why did I think 2009? Was that Prime 3? ...2002... No, okay. When did Metroid Prime 2 release, then? 2004. Okay. So... That's what it was. It was Metroid Prime 2. Prime 2 was released. And the series started having a decline again. Because Prime 2 is basically the same game as Prime, there's like next to nothing new about it. There's a couple new things, but most of the fan base didn't like it. Most of the fan base was like, this is just the same thing. In my humble opinion, it's not the same thing. Very different game series. Or very different game. And I love it. I think Prime 2 is a fantastic game. I haven't beaten it yet. I've just never really gotten around to it. Oh, that's so cool. But a lot of the fan base didn't like it. And shortly after the release of Metroid Prime 2, I believe is when Metroid Zero Mission came out. And fans didn't particularly care for that because, once again, it's just the same game as Metroid Classic, but with colors and slightly new functions because, you know, it's on a Game Boy instead of the NES. Or Game Boy Advance SP, I mean, rather. And so, fans didn't particularly care for Metroid Prime 2. They didn't particularly care for Metroid Zero Mission. The series started tanking again, and around this time there was talk of Metroid Dread. The creators of Metroid wanted to release a game titled Dread. And they decided to sack it because they couldn't, with the technology available to them at that time, they couldn't make the game as dark and, quote, dreadful as they wanted to. And so they gave up on it. They scrapped the idea. And that didn't really pan out very well because fans of the Metroid series already knew about it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we had no information on it. The only thing we knew was that the game was entitled Dread. And fans were so excited. Like, to the point where everywhere you looked online, you would find fan art of Metroid Dread.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, anything Metroid related online, fan art for Dread. Like, undoubtedly.
Whoa.
And then they scrapped it, and fans were so disappointed. And, gosh, I think it was a couple years later, they released Prime 3. Prime 3 was super successful. Maybe not as successful as it could have been, but it was super successful. And what in the world? Okay. Prime 3, there's a spot that you can go to. There's a very, very hidden secret area that you can find that has a what is it? It's a log. You can find a log somewhere, not like a wooden log, but like a
Yeah.
log book entry type thing.
I understand.
You can find this log entry that states that Project Dread is moving along considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. It definitely, one thing that I remember very specifically is that it says Project Dread.
Uh-huh.
And fans went fucking nuts. They were like, Dread! It's happening! They're releasing it soon! Fans went insane.
Yeah.
And at the end of Prime 3, they hinted at a Prime 4. If you get a certain percentage or a certain clear rate or something, I think you have to get 100% and beat it in a certain time. When you fly away, you see a mysterious ship that looks a lot like yours, but blue, like Phazon, flies after you, like chases you, basically.
Like Dark Samus,
Yeah.
sorta?
Yeah, like Dark Samus. And once again, fans are going insane. Like, dude, holy shitballs. Between Prime 4 and Metroid Dread, the next couple years for Metroid were set. Like, fans were like, ah! But it didn't happen. Yeah. Once again, they scrapped Project Dread because it wasn't... They couldn't do quite what they wanted to do with it. And because they had never actually made a formal announcement that Metroid Dread was actually something they were working on this time, they were just like, oh no, that was just a joke for all of our fans. And people were like, no, don't you do that to us! And let's see, Prime 3, I believe we didn't get another Metroid game until Metroid Other M.
Wow.
Now, the reason that happened, the reason Metroid Other M exists at all, is because Retro Studios was like, we don't want to make another Metroid game. They told Nintendo no. And so Nintendo was like, well, shit, alright, between Prime 4 and Dread, the fan base is all sorts of riled up. So, since you won't make it, we'll just give Metroid to another company, and they can make it to another studio. Another studio can make a game. I believe they gave it to Team Ninja or something like that. It's Ninja something. I just remember it had the word Ninja in it. Team Ninja, it was a terrible idea. I don't know why Nintendo did this. Horrible, horrible decision. Because Team Ninja is known for making whiny big tit anime girls. And so they gave them Samus, and what did they do? Big tit anime Samus. Basically is what happened. And she was a whiny bitch. And nobody liked it. The fan base in America even was like, no, this isn't our Samus. We don't like her. Nobody liked it. The game fucking tanked so hard that Nintendo was like, we're not making another Metroid game for a while. And it was years before they even released a remake of another Metroid game. They remade Metroid 2, and they made Metroid Samus Returns. I believe it was Metroid 2 is Metroid 2 The Return of Samus. And so they remade it for the 3DS and called it Samus Returns instead. Now, Samus Returns was pretty good. And they had partnered up with another company. What was this one called? Something Steam Entertainment. What's it called again? Hang on. I've got it on my phone. I just sent it to somebody else earlier today. I just can't remember what it was called for some reason. Something Steam Entertainment. Nope, that's you. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Mercury Steam Entertainment. That's what they were called. So Mercury Steam Entertainment partnered up with them to make Metroid 2 The Return, or Metroid Samus Returns. And it did well. They released this game, and without anybody knowing, Nintendo was like, hey, you guys know how to make a pretty dark, atmospheric game. Do you want to make Metroid Dread? And they never announced it to anybody. Like, fans had no idea this was happening. Metroid... and then 4 whole years ago, Nintendo announced Metroid Prime 4. They finally convinced Retro to make another Prime game, to make Prime 4 finally. It took them long enough. I hate that it took them as long as it did, but they succeeded.
Yeah.
And that's what counts. So fans have known Metroid Prime 4 is supposed to come out for 4 years now. We've been anxiously awaiting it because literally we got like the most tiny teaser for it ever. Like, I have never seen this small of a teaser for any game that got this much hype. Literally, the teaser for the announcement that Prime 4 was coming was that one of the heads of Retro Studios came out and said at a Nintendo Direct and were like, hey, we know you guys are excited, so here it is, so we have something exciting to tell you. And it literally just pans in and shows you, or pans out, and you see, it goes to a black screen, and it pans out, and you see stars, and then you see clouds, and then you see the Metroid S screw attack symbol. That's it! That's it! That's all they showed us! Fans went fucking nuts! I did! I saw that, I was like, oh! It's happening! We're getting Prime 4 finally! I was so excited! More on this in a second. A benediction is then chanted, which beckons fortune to smile on the new monarch. And that's how it's done.
I never dreamed coronation could be so complex. My boy certainly has a lot to learn about being a king.
Your son is full of potential. My task as a ruler is to ensure he can flourish in safety and comfort. The comfort of my ass.
Heavens, what they say is true. You're as noble as you are dashing. I shouldn't say that.
My dear, perish the thought. My nobility can be a curse. While I am a king, I desire most to be a man. The biggest, buffest, kingliest man. Oh! My dear laddie, you damn near scared the shit right out of me. Ah! There you are! Impeccable timing! King Pradmore, I was just saying we're approaching the Trupple Pond. Yes, the pond. Yes, of course. The Trupple Pond. We were... Just a word, if you would, my boy. Some advice. Heed it well if you seek victory. The Trupple King is far less tolerant of disrespect than I.
Listen to King Pridemore, darling. Thanks to him, we're drawing close to the Trupple King.
My gratitude for the support, my lady. Your mother and I are together as one in this matter. What do you mean you're together as one, Mother? Mother, what does he mean? Stay away from him! Let's hold steady and keep our heading straight. Remember, be respectful to the second joustus judge. Why did I give him the most annoying voice possible?
Because he's a rooster?
Yeah. So... You can talk to one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pridemore has such a noble countenance. Don't you agree, my sweet prince?
Ah, but it's nothing compared to your graceful features, my lady. If you know what I mean. No, be silent!
Sweetie, have you brought some corn? I'd love to cook for you.
So, as I was saying, Prime 4 is announced 4 years ago. Fans are going nuts. I'm going nuts. And they are secretly, without anybody knowing about it, also working on Metroid Dread. Today...
What do you mean you know about it?
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh.
Today, they announced at E3 Metroid... For one, at the last Nintendo Direct, they didn't say a goddamn thing about Metroid Prime 4.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I want to touch on this. But... They've hired on a lot of... Allegedly, they hired on a lot of people who care about the game and who know about the game and are good and are, like, fantastic developers and writers. So hopefully, Prime 4 comes out fucking incredible. It better at this point. But aside from that, we've heard, like, nothing about it. Like, the fan base has been kept in the dark. And this last E3, or not E3, this last Nintendo Direct before E3, a few months ago now, they gave no announcement. Like, they didn't even mention Metroid. They didn't even tell fans, hey, we're still working on it. Like, between COVID through all of 2020 and all this other shit that was going on, fans began to be under the impression that Metroid Prime 4 was canceled. Because we didn't, like, Nintendo was just ignoring it. Like, it didn't exist anymore. And fans were upset. And finally, at this last Nintendo Direct, at E3, just today, they announced, they didn't give any teasers or any trailers, like we still know next to nothing about the game, but they announced that it is still in progress, and that is good enough for me. As long as I know it's still happening, I'm happy. Now, to make it even more exciting, immediately after saying this, they also released a video, or a trailer, for Metroid Dread.
Ooh.
Now, it's two-dimensional, like Samus Returns, and it looks... Some of the design choices are interesting. I don't necessarily love them. I don't think they're bad. I just don't particularly love them. But the game looks scary. Like, you know, like its namesake. The game is titled Dread. Just based off the trailer. Granted, I know, like, nothing past the trailer. Just based off the trailer, it's dreadful. Like, there's straight up enemies that, at least until later in the game, you can't defeat.
Wow.
And they're just stalking you. Like, chasing you down constantly. And there's always one patrolling and looking for you.
That's like some actual alien planet stuff right there.
Well, I merely reflect the radiance of my company. You have such an affectionate mother, King Knight. I simply can't bear it! I beg of you, spare me this agony! But it's exciting because fans have been waiting for Metroid Dread for 15 years. And out of nowhere, there's literally no teaser, no announcement, no warning whatsoever. Out of nowhere! Nintendo's like, hey, so in a few months you're getting Metroid Dread.
What the fuck?
Now, I don't know about anybody else, but between Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, and Metroid Dread, I'm fucking on Cloud 9 right now.